All right, welcome back to the NFM Podcast. I'm Collin, Schoen, and I'm joined with
Tala, Shatara.
And just a quick shout out to our sponsors, Music City Muscle, Nutrition Factory, and then we got BFT in Brentwood as well. So we are joined today with Blake Harris, who I believe is something to do with one of our sponsors. Which one, you can figure it out. I don't know. But yeah, so Tala, what's going on with you? How's life been?
Life is good. Life is good. It's actually super hot today, like annoyingly hot. Is there a thing about, like, has anyone heard of unknowingly hot before?
I'm freezing 24/7 right now.
On
so
what?
I love the warmth.
It makes sense. And also I'm in this, so no wonder I'm hot, no wonder you're cold. How are you feeling, Blake?
I run hot all the time.
Me too. Me too. And it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's beautiful outside, so we will still take it. But we're doing well. Should we do our basket of debate?
Bum, bum,
That's the
bum.
time here. I'll take one and we'll just pass it. And then, actually, I feel like this one I like better. I don't know
Okay.
why. But you just take it and pass. And we'll let Blake go first with his
All right.
prompt. So read it out loud.
Okay.
Please.
Can Strongman do that?
Ooh. Is it more important to be respected or liked in the workplace? This is not an awkward place to have this conversation at all.
Yeah. Respected. Are you kidding?
Yeah. I think in the workplace, absolutely.
100%.
Respected.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
But not to the point where you're not liked.
Yeah.
I think it has to be, those have to be grouped together, and it's like a percentage of like 50-50 or, 80-20 or whatever your own personal like preference is. Like, I know with sports, you don't have to have the most talented people compared to the other team, but teams that like each other and want to like fight for each other definitely get a lot more accomplished.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to be liked, but not more important than being respected.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I can't even top that. So
Me either. I'm like, where do we even go from here? I had a boss tell me one time, she was like, you do not have to like anyone in here, but you got to respect. And she wasn't telling me that, like, I wasn't like in trouble, but like, she was like, there are people that I don't even like here and you would never even know, because my respect comes across that I like you, because I take the time to think about your needs, think about your wants, because that's what respect is, and, and creating space in your mind for that person. So yeah, try to top that.
I really can't.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm too depleted for that.
I love it. No. Go ahead with your prompt, though.
Yeah, what you got, Collin?
Hello there. I don't know why I get all the family questions. Is monogamy a natural human behavior or societal construct?
Ooh.
That's deep.
Okay.
Who wrote these?
Terry.
Is everything okay? I would say it's probably from a male perspective, societal construct. If we just like look at like biology or whatnot, males naturally want to reproduce. This isn't me speaking. My wife was listening.
I know. I'm like, what's
but I would
happening?
say just like, I don't say it's a natural thing. It's like if we just look at people like dudes are always trying to do something, and then. But I would say women are more geared toward, like, just wired towards creating a family. So I think for men, probably societal.
Yeah.
For women, probably more natural.
That's a good answer. That really is. What do
Yeah,
you
I think I agree with that. Even with how, if you like, if I'm a male and I'm with multiple partners, how I'm viewed amongst my peers versus a female viewed would be differently for doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I do think you're right. I think it's different. But I don't think it's natural for men at all. And I think everyone's a little bit different of what you desire. But I don't think that realistically, just because I am choosing to be faithful to just my partner, that every other female becomes ugly.
Right. Yeah,
Like, I mean, there's still going to be attractions and things that you are attracted to as a blanket statement. And I think when you muffle that, it becomes a little bit of a problem of like manipulation, controlling within the relationship. So I think that then it makes it more desirable to want to be wanted by multiple or someone else. But I don't think monogamy inherently is like a natural thing.
Yeah, I don't think it, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, someone had to have told us, don't cheat on your partner, or, you know, so there, all glory to God. And I think for me, though, it's so true because, and it kind of goes back into the respect thing that we were just talking about. It's like, it's that foundation of respect. And so whether you like someone or you don't like someone, or you like this girl but you're seeing this girl, it's about respecting the person that you're with. And I think that's a foundational thing, which I think should be natural for people. And if it's not, let's maybe reevaluate some things.
Yeah. I mean, divorce rates are over 50%. And it's like, I feel like if it was a natural thing, it wouldn't be so hard for people
100%
to accomplish.
Yeah, we're getting so deep right now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. All right, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Wow, this one's long. Okay. Gym equipment mysteries. Be honest. Have you ever pretended to know how to use a machine only to immediately leave when someone looks at you? And what's the most intimidating piece of gym equipment? Wow, these are both really good questions. I would say definitely, I'm going to be very honest with you. I have my comfort zones in the gym. I have my comfort machines that I know how to use, and I know what I can do, and I know that it's going to produce the results that I want. So if there is something that I don't really know how to use, especially in a commercial gym, if I'm in my apartment gym, I'll figure something out on my own in my own privacy while the security guy watches me through the camera and probably laughs at me, whatever. But I honestly think, like, in a commercial gym, I've been very intimidated by trying new equipment. I get so nervous. And also because I always feel like when I'm in a commercial gym, like when I go with my fiance to our gym, there's so many people there. People are ready to get in on the machine you're using. So they're sitting there counting down the minutes until you're done with your set. And if I'm sitting there taking the time to figure out even how to use it, I feel like I'm causing someone else to have such a bad workout day. Am I the only one that thinks that?
I mean, I can't agree with you. Just my perspective.
Yeah.
I've been in gyms since like 6th grade, and now own a gym. I don't think there's ever been a consistent time in my life that I wasn't in a gym. So I wouldn't say that there's ever been a time that I like didn't know how, because even going at a young age, it was because our team was lifting together. We had coaches there. So there's been some sort of guidance early on. But as far as my perspective of owning a gym, I feel like, honestly, like not machine wise, just overall equipment. I think even just the barbell itself. I think a lot of people who are trying to chase a progression in their fitness journey, when a machine has like a lever arm and whatever it is, press, whatever it is, that arm only moves one way. Like you can't really do it wrong. So I think people end up deciding to like figure it out more so than worrying about how they're going to look doing a barbell lift, which is like the freest of free weights, and how that's going to look.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The amount of people that are just scared of the bar itself being the bar is wild.
Yeah.
Mine's more machine. Mine's
really?
More like, mine's machine. There are and some of them have like actual like diagrams on it showing how you can use it. But sometimes
like transparent man with like
the man.
With the muscles lit up of what muscle you're hitting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes if I just can't figure it out, I really just, the gym can be very intimidating. I'm not a trainer. I don't own a gym. You both have those things crossed off your list. So for me, it's a little different. I get to the gym and I wouldn't say intimidated, but I do stick to my comfort. And then I guess the other question was the most intimidating piece of gym equipment. What would you say it is?
I think overall, at least, I mean, it's going to be different environments. My gym's a lot different than a Planet Fitness. So my perspective is probably just the barbell itself. Like I said, people can figure out. I don't have a lot of machines, but I think people in a strength environment, like a powerlifting gym, are more intimidated about how they're going to look doing a barbell lift wrong, then they're like off in the corner trying to figure out how a piece of equipment goes. That's just our perspective in our atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoy hearing a little bit more about the machine point of view.
Oh yeah, especially in a commercial gym.
Like what makes that intimidating?
Have you ever been on a hip abductor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good girls, bad girls.
It looks
the
awkward.
scariest thing there is.
It is. It's so scary. Well, what's your opinion there, though, Collin?
I think like the newer machine, I can see where like the complexity of the machines is a bit intimidating because it looks more complex, especially if you're coming into it with not as big of a gym background. Like, oh, that thing looks intense. It's got levers, buttons, and all that. I can see that, but from like a true like intimidation standpoint, like when you've been like under a heavy bar, like it's hard. That's hard to beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I think it just varies.
It
from,
does.
like, where you're at in your journey.
It does. All right. You guys, one down.
One down.
Bada boom.
Oh, did we do all of them?
Yeah.
Oh, we're done.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I was
She was
having
so-
the
I thought we were gonna go
best
another
time.
round.
I mean, we could. Let's just pass the basket until we're done. No. Well, I'm happy that we brought up that you obviously are a gym owner. Your gym is set up a little bit more different than, just your usual Planet Fitness or something like that. So Music City Muscle, everybody right here, one of our sponsors. We're super happy to have Blake with us. Tell us about your gym and, how it caters to people.
As far as how it caters to people, ultimately, if strength is anywhere in your list of goals of what you're trying to accomplish, I can have something for you. As far as what we offer, it's an old school kind of foundation of a elevated warehouse powerlifting gym. At the bones and the core of what it is, it's a strongman gym. That's being associated with Strongman is what gave me the opportunity that would make owning a gym make sense because I already had a community. But within that, the idea from the beginning was to bring a hardcore lifting environment, like old school iron, everything in Nashville's new and shiny and state of the art. And like, that's not really how the greats actually lifted. So we're kind of holding on to some of that nostalgia.
Yeah.
And doing it in a way that can cater and provide tools for what is some of the best lifters in the entire world. But making it an atmosphere that's approachable for beginners to learn. Because what's interesting about strength and the barbell atmosphere is unlike any other industry. Podcasting. If someone like Joe Rogan or somebody started a podcast based out of Nashville that was on that level, the Trents of the world would probably want to be in office buildings near that. Like when the best in the region or best in the country or whatever it is in your industry go somewhere, it recruits other people like it that want to be that one day. But when you do barbells and you put performance in it, people are like, oh, I'm not strong enough to go to that gym. But in all reality, if you want to get stronger, this is the gym where you need to be so you can be around people that know a little bit more. So you can kind of like emulate form, ask questions about technique, but people are intimidated to be in that room. So being able to check some egos, but use that as a time to empower people who would normally be intimidated by the gym space, to come in there and be able to be vulnerable enough to learn.
How do you do that? Like, how do you make that? Because from the average Nashville gym goer, your gym would be intimidating a little bit.
Yeah.
So how are you guys like counteracting that?
That's a great question. Ultimately, what I've been told is it just starts with me. Obviously, I do a lot of the consultations, and the strongman community as a whole is just very, very inviting, very supportive. It's such a niche thing that it's so inviting of like, oh my gosh, we have another one. Like, it's just always going to be growing because it's such a like specific niche thing that we get so excited that people want to try something different and do our thing because it's smaller than, CrossFit and High Rocks and Pilates and like, so when more people doing it, we get really, really excited. From the top down, it's just what I wanted because I wanted it to be safe for beginners to learn. So everything we do is rooted in education and support of each other. The way I explain fitness, what fitness is to me, if I'm going to ask you to do fitness with me, even if you're paying me, I look at that as I'm asking you to be vulnerable with me. because that's what fitness is. There's a reason why you talked about, adductors and abductors, right? Like there's a lot of vulnerable literal positions, but a lot of vulnerable mental positions that you're in, and maybe being like the least knowledgeable and the weakest link in the room. And no one wants to be that, but you have to be vulnerable to learn. So making sure people know that when they walk in and they're vulnerable in my space, they're safe. That's not going to be used against them. No one's made fun of. It becomes an effort-based facility is the way I describe it. Whether it's group fitness or someone doing open gym or someone working with a trainer. If you're over here ripping 315 deadlifts for reps, but we've all seen you do 400 or 500, then no one's really cheering for that because we've seen what you can do. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but on the flip side, if you're working on your deadlifts and you're deadlifting 135 pounds, 45s for the first time, and the room senses when you have to dig a little extra for that little bit more effort than you've ever needed before, and the whole room stops to cheer you on, even though it's so much less than what other people are doing. It's really not a comparison. If you can quickly add up what numbers weigh and things like that, then you're doing more than everyone else in the room.
Honestly, Music City Muscle sounds like such a wonderful environment. I'm so happy that you're here because I wish I was at Planet Fitness and everyone in the whole room was just cheering for me. You know what I mean? Because it can be a very vulnerable space. And you're talking a lot about, men and women that are, kind of even going into competitions. And a lot of this can be extremely mentally taxing. And to have such an amazing environment at your business is so amazing to see the camaraderie, the friendships, the brotherhood, the sisterhood that really feeds there. If someone is new to the whole lifting, scheme, is there something for beginners?
Absolutely. I will sometimes use personal training as like onboarding. And sometimes it's not actually personal training, but we go through sessions that you would see at like group fitness as an example to like see what kind of foundation you are. Essentially, if anyone just doesn't know, like a lot of people hit me up and they just want a membership and they express like, I don't need anything extra. I just want access to the gym. Cool. But when someone's like unsure of like what they need or what they're capable of doing in my space, I always want to meet with them and just get to know them as a person. I feel like since I actually now own the business, I look at it as I own the umbrella. And what I mean by that is, and this is how I work it into consultations and things like that, is I want to take someone I've never met and be able to assess where you are on this fitness spectrum right now. Because on one end, if you look, watching like My 600 Pound Life, like that person couldn't handle a group fitness class, right? Like that. I mean, we can all agree. It's not being rude. It's just they need someone designated going to them, looking at what they can do and figuring out how to make it something to do reps and like work on their specific movements so that they can even be able to move and function and thrive in their life that they have. And then, that can be in the gym space, actually personal training. And so all this is a spectrum of where if you're trying to really soak in the knowledge of being in the gym, then you can do some personal training. You can do some small group fitness classes. And if they're done properly and truly about the education piece, then you can get to the point where you can go to the gym and you know how to give yourself a workout. Now, you might like the community of group fitness, but you're not doing that because you can't do it on your own. I look at the benefit I have is that I don't have to tiptoe that line of client retention, which is a huge thing. Like you have to be able to retain clients, but you don't also want to tiptoe that line of client limitation. And I'm probably going to make some people at home watching feel a little weird about me saying this, but if you feel some kind of way listening to this, then it's probably about you. I think too many trainers in Nashville get that, upwards of $800-900 a month from a client, and they want to do everything you can to keep that coming in. Who wouldn't, right? But at some point, if that client's goals was to come to you to learn how to do more and be more capable on their own, then there needs to be like a weaning off kind of
100%.
progression, right?
Yeah.
But I think too many people do what they need to do and use that vulnerability of clients to be able to do whatever they need to do to make this person feel heard, while also keeping that paycheck coming in at all cost. And that, you know, I'm not knocking people who, you know, make money and make a lot of money personal training, but if there's ever been a point with opportunities where that person came to you because they don't know how to do something on their own and that's ultimately their goal, then they're not trying to be a client for 7 years. They're trying to eventually like grow wings and learn how to fly on their own. And for me, I have no qualms trying to push people in. My schedule's getting very busy. I still take clients, but I like taking the harder clients. And with that, and then I like this idea of like empowering people, teaching people, and then letting them fly. Because as long as you're doing it at Music City Muscle, then I'm benefiting it from no matter what. So I want to move people on and have that reputation of caring for people and actually creating growth.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, because I am a trainer, like, that's
Yeah.
usually describe, like, what
Yeah.
we do. But I come at it, like, the first thing I tell everybody is, like, I don't want to keep you forever. Like, if you want to stay, that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mad about
Yeah.
that. But, like, the goal
No, make your
is,
money.
because I could die tomorrow, get hit by a bus. And then if you don't know what you're doing, like, I didn't do my job. So it's like, if you go about, like, teaching along as you go and, like, empowering in some sense, more than likely that person's going to want to stay with you anyway.
Right, exactly.
But you're also, you can lay your head down at night and be like, okay, I'm not just milking this person for money.
Right.
Like, it's an actual teaching. You're being a human being at the end of the day, not just a quote-unquote trainer.
Yeah.
Even metaphorically look at it. I mean, I was even thinking, I mean, you've got coaches in college that teach people and give them the correct form and give them everything, mind, body, soul, give them the best that they can. Because if they ever decide to go to the pros and whatever that looks like, that coach is not going with you. And so I feel like that's also a way to kind of look at it as well. And you brought something up really amazing, that education is such a key part about what you guys do at Music City Muscle. And I want to ask you this, Collin, as well, being a trainer. Are there new things in education that constantly keep coming out? Is it just an inundation of education when it comes to this stuff? Are there new techniques, or is it everything's pretty foundational and it doesn't change?
It's both. Like, the same things will recycle, but there's also, like, new stuff. The field's still so young from, like, a research perspective, but a lot of what was considered bro science 10 years ago is now they're studying, like, oh yeah, they're right. So it's both. It's like a 50-50 on that. Like, stuff's changing. We're just getting more efficient at what we do as a whole as the industry.
Yeah.
I think as a foundation, it hasn't really changed much because, I mean, all this is physics.
Yeah.
It's just physics of the human body. And the science between how, like, levers and fulcrums work and where that weight distribution is in relation to, none of that's changed for centuries. But because of advancements of technology, one person can be in one office in one city and now have a test pool of the entire world of different body types, long femurs, short torso, the opposite, things like that. And so now they're kind of like making the foundations more tailored, which I think can get lost in translation of if a beginner is just Googling how to squat, people are going off of watching people that they want to look like, not necessarily people who are built like them. But ultimately, I think it's been the same, but now it's like evolving to getting more specific for body types.
Ooh, he brought up something so amazing. Can I ask this?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Please.
brought up something so interesting. People are watching, influencers, vloggers, YouTubers, people that they want to look like, but they're not built to look like. Is that, my fiance loved him to death, but every night you got Dr. Mike Israel on, you got the Trent Twins on, you got Sam Sulik on, and it's like, their bodies are so different. And he's doing a great job. I'm very proud of him. Love you, babe. But is this, especially in a man or woman's self-esteem, take me through that process. Are we aspiring something that's unachievable because of these figures?
I mean, I think so. I think that these people, influencers, some of them, here's the problem. Some of them are actually speaking some truth and doing it in a way that trainers or online coaches would never do. But at the end of the day, it's making money. And unfortunately, maybe I'm a little bit more jaded than most people, but if there's a human being that's doing something for the sake of making money off of it, I don't always trust it first off.
Right.
But I think that they water it down. I mean, you hear the stories of these influencers that are either getting sick or dying because of, turns out they were on anabolics or something. And no one like taking them correctly. I think that that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to sell an unachievable product to people who would aspire to try the journey to look like that. And that's just going to get muddied every time you do it.
Yeah.
I would say the industry's always been that way.
Yeah.
With that, but it still comes down at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's not a new thing. It's just blown out of proportion with social media now.
Quicker. I'd still say at the end of the day, like you have to have like some self like efficacy and like realize like be honest with yourself. Like there'd be like me trying to be. I'm going to be as good of a swimmer as Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is twice my height and has twice my limb length. That's foolish. Like you have to be honest with looking like I can't really do that. Versus what you can do. And then at the end of the day, the one principle that has not changed, will never change with this, is like you still have to do your best. Like you can, no matter what training program you follow, who you're looking at, if you give like hard effort into it, you're going to get pretty far down the road.
And it's crazy because like I'm about to be 38, pushing 40, and it feels like even in like sports training, like performance training, even as a kid working with some of the top like local agility coaches, speed coaches, things like that, that even then as I was a kid, it was always preached to me like there's no shortcut. There's no pill. You have to come here. You got to do the work. You got to be up at 5 a.m. You got to get extra work in. You got to make sure that when it's all said and done, you know no one is capable of outworking you. And that was just preached even then, and now here we are decades later, and we're still trying to fight the same thing. Like there's not a shortcut pill, and everyone's still. It's like the only thing that like has been proven, but we still have to like advocate for.
Yeah, and I feel like it's hard. Like people are less willing now to hear that message than they were before social media.
Oh yeah, the impatience when it comes to the industry, I'm sure, is like off the charts. Well,
yeah, I mean, steroids and things like that are so much more accessible now than they've ever been. I mean, coming up in the time frame of being in the gym, when I was in the gym, of these construction worker dudes that would come in jeans and work boots and cut off.
Still stronger than everybody.
Yeah, they just got done working concrete. Shout out Big Mike, man. It was wild. Coming in from concrete, still like, pants
Big
dirty.
Hollingshead?
No, man. This was.
I was going to say that's hilarious.
This is actually went out to the YMCA in Springfield because of where my mom worked, and there was just a group of blue collar dudes that would come in like after work every day, and they were the strongest dudes in there. And I've been around people like that my whole life, and like I didn't know where to. If I wanted to get some gear, I wouldn't know where to get it. Right? Like no one's like walked up and been like, "Oh, you look like you're lifting strong. Do you want some of this?" Like it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It didn't happen like that. Like I was in the places where I know people were doing things, but like it's not really talked about like that. And now you can go to any fitness influencer and they've got a discount code for peptides, and like it's just so accessible that argument of debunking that myth of what it actually takes to achieve whatever you're chasing is just. That quick fix pill is just getting closer and closer to actually being the thing. Is Ozempic and all of that kind of stuff.
I was just about to say, Ozempic's doing the same thing right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. All right. One thing
because you got like models that on Ozempic. You got OnlyFans girls that are taking Anavar. Like you've got situations that when I really got into lifting, I would have never thought would have ever been an issue.
If let's just say like 10 years down the road, there is a pill that just knocks out, no negative side effects. Positive or negative for society on that as a whole?
I mean, if there's no side effects and it's not hurting people, then anything that exists that doesn't hurt people, I'm not going to say is a bad thing, but anything that's a good thing, I'm sure you can. Too much of anything is a bad thing.
The pill and poof, like you have the physique.
I'll be the first in line.
Yeah.
I think it would still change a little bit because I think because right now, I mean, you get that dude that was like going viral for like what CEO, where he only hires people with six packs.
What?
Yeah.
Andy Frisella or whatever.
No, not
Frisella.
Andy.
No. He's goofy looking. He's like bald headed dude, right?
Yeah, bald headed dude. And like now he's successful.
Hey,
He's
so
making
you're
money. So
watching this.
I'm not saying he's not onto something, and I'm not going to tell anybody how to run their own business, especially if they make more money than me. But he caught a lot of flack for it, and regardless of how I might feel about the situation, you can't argue with the fact of like if you see someone with like real muscle definition and a six pack, that there's not that inherent guttural like level of respect for that person, especially if you know what that takes to get there. And if everyone was able to take a pill and just have that physique, then maybe it would be a good thing, because then like we wouldn't like, you know, be attracted to someone just based off looks because we all look the same, or that inherent level of respect of like a hierarchy of, especially like in a dating situation or something like that, that this someone who commands respect, they might be a terrible person. I caught myself. Thanks, Trent. They might be a terrible person, but because they have a six pack and they're all shredded, you know, they've got all the girls, they've got, you know, opportunities with money and things like that. So being able to kind of like not have that as like a filter for something, I don't know, could be a good thing.
I find that interesting because, I mean, obviously there are so many people out there that are just trying to get the next big thing, their hands on the next big thing. But I feel like you're right. If we all look the same, it's like we're all cookie cutter. Maybe it would be better for our mental health if we all look the same. There's no comparison.
Maybe a hard reset on society.
Yeah. And with that, we'll take a brief intermission. All right, and we're back to the NFM Podcast. So, with Music City Muscle, how have you been able to take, 'cause you said you had a sports background and stuff, like how have you been able, it sounds like you've taken kind of that culture and inserted it into the gym.
I think between like my sports background with the level of football that I got to and what I was able to do within the sport of strongman kind of simultaneously, for me, that just adds validation, real world validation. In, what is this, 2025? I don't know, like, wow, like 13 years being in like the actual professional fitness industry. It seems to be like, I don't know, I've never had anyone, a client in a consultation ask me which certification I had or what was my college degree in. Like, I'm sure some people do ask that, so I wouldn't be surprised if you've been asked, but I personally have not been asked in over a dozen years, like, what that is. What people care about is, like, oh, you play pro football. Oh, you compete this. And it's like, you can go to my page and you see, like, what me and, like, our team accomplishes and, like, what that is, that means more to, like, life and what people want to work with over what certifications you have.
No, 100%. 100%.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think that also, I mean, this world, I'm so new to it, but I'd like to think I live with it, though, now. With my fiance, he just became a personal trainer, went through ISSA to get those certifications, and now he's, you know, trying to get those clients, and we're really learning that world together. But I'm going into it really realizing that it's such a skill, and it's not based on merit, and it's not really based on, like, you know, I mean, it can be, obviously, when it comes to medical advice and different things like that, you need to have licensure licenses and certain certifications in place for that.
Hashtag not a doctor.
Yeah. No, but but I think a lot of this is such a learned type of hobby and lifestyle, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I mean, I couldn't even tell you the last time I really referenced something in like an actual textbook. Like if you're using the word bicep femoris to your client, like you might be knowledgeable, but I mean, you can make this analogy for a lot of industries, right?
Yeah.
Like we're in Nashville. You might have an incredible voice, but if you can't work like a little bar down on Broadway and work the room and get people excited, you'll never make it.
Yeah.
And you could work the room, but if you're not really talented, you're not going to like go past that, right? Like it takes talent, but it also just takes being able to read a room, work a room, and how you treat people.
Yeah.
I think is more important than actually anything you learn of a technical term or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the amount of people that come to us, it's almost like a refuge of negative experiences, trainers, coaches who have used that vulnerability against them and taken advantage of so many people being vulnerable around you. It turns into power. If you've got an entire, like some of these rosters that some of these trainers have, if you have that many people being vulnerable around you, it turns into power, and people can use that power for bad as well. And so the amount of people that have come to us just because they haven't ever really felt heard. Trainers want to compensate by proving that they know more than someone, and especially some of those places where it's just like personal training only. Like you have so much competition, like unspoken competition of like trainers in the same room trying to prove they're better or smarter or whatever, and it can get like not fun for people because you got people that are trying to prove something and tell them what their goals are versus like actually listening to what that person wants to do.
Wow. Do you experience that a lot in your field too?
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but I've been fortunate to kind of surround myself away from that like pretty quickly. I started off in a spot where it's like egos and whatnot, but I mean it's all over with that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all performance, whether it's,
you have to,
and in performance, there's always going to be some egos for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
have to provide like a good service to the person in front of you every time, and then just like he's saying, like you have to just be a good person, and the rest follows and get results because they are coming for that too.
Absolutely. Okay, so we talked a lot about the Music City Muscle. You
Yep.
are also very well spoken, and you should be because you also have your own podcast.
Yes, I do.
Music City Mindset. Tell us a little bit about that.
And it's an idea that I sat on for a long time. I had a job one time where I was traveling for work, and I just couldn't keep that roller coaster of listening to music, of like slow, meaningful, high intense, trying to stay up to drive. And I started listening to podcasts, and there was something like about it that I was drawn to, and the distraction from life that it provided. And I came up very quickly. I actually came up with a really cool concept that it is now what we know as the Music City Mindset. And that's just realizing that, like, because I'm born and raised here, pretty much all in North Nashville. Went to high school in Madison. Played football at Tennessee State, right off Jefferson.
Wow.
Now I'm Music City Muscle, right there off Buchanan. And so, I mean, it's all I've ever known. I've never lived anywhere else. And now it's getting to the point where, like, I'm the unicorn because I'm from here. And I started having the same Uber drivers, new people at the gym, whatever it was. It's the same conversation. Yeah. Oh, hey, how are you? Where are you from? Like, we all do that because no one's from here. And now we're getting to the point where those people aren't just like moving here to like work at bars on Broadway or something. Now people are moving here to like launch big businesses here, new concepts. And so what it came down to is if I'm going to make the argument that biasly, I think this is the greatest city in the world. If it is that way, then I have to admit that why it's the greatest right now is based upon people that weren't born here.
Yeah.
And I think that there's stories there that need to be highlighted because it can be hard to stay here in Nashville. I've seen this city, especially like on the music side, even on the trainer side, and now we're starting to see it on the like IT side of things. Like it will chew people out and spit them back to whatever small town they came from, and that sucks. But I think that speaks volumes for the people that figured it out and actually made it here.
There is a lot of opportunity in Nashville. I've always known that. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, so I'm not far off, but I always knew I love Tennessee. I always wanted to live in Tennessee my entire life. I don't look or sound like I belong here, but it's my favorite place in the world. And so being in Nashville, I kind of get the best of both worlds. I've got that big city mindset, and I've got that small town feel still, because Nashville really is, for people that are not really familiar with the proximity of Nashville, it is extremely small. Everyone really knows everyone. It becomes to that point, especially in certain industries like fitness. Yeah. And so you're right. I mean, it has become, would you say that it was overly saturated in the market that you're in right now in the fitness world?
In the fitness world, what I'm trying to do with the gym, I don't think so. Okay. Especially with over the last year, you've had gyms like Redcon closed, Southside Strength changed their concepts, like strength and powerlifting and not bougie group fitness and things like that are, everywhere on every corner. So like real true strength gyms of like celebrating people that literally just want to really lift weights is hard to find. But in the podcast world, I do feel like part of the reason why I put like actually pulling the trigger on Music City Mindset for so long is because ultimately I just didn't want to be another white dude with a podcast, and because they're everywhere. But the more I talk about it, it actually is like people are like, oh, but like that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the more people that said it sounded cool, I was like, I need to talk to someone. Like let's figure this out. Maybe do some test run, and actually tried it on my own. That didn't work. Tried to relaunch it with a new group. And before I could even get it off the ground, me and Terry had a conversation, and we worked something out. And now it's on the NFM network. But even in the concept of like from the top, like I wanted everything to be the same from the top. Like even, 'cause that's how I've done things at the gym, and it works. Like this is my first time owning a business, like a brick and mortar business. Mm-hmm. And I've got people that worked with me that never worked in fitness before. Like one of my employees, the trainers that train clients out of there. Some of them were either first-time trainers, changing career paths, or only online only, and wanting to get back into some human interaction, one-on-one. Like from the top down, even now, the amount of people that come into there and still have never had a barbell on their back, and like the fact that keeps happening of the first time I'm working with someone and just teaching them to do a barbell back squat is the first time ever doing it, ever holding a barbell, and that happens at my location is a bigger honor than, having a female that deadlifts over 600 pounds.
Wow.
Like that's cool, but like the teaching, because even if I'm a blip on their radar on wherever their journey takes them next, when you get to like help lay someone's foundation on, a part of you is going to go with them for forever. And I don't really take that for granted. I know it sounds cheesy, but so with the podcast, I realized I probably needed help.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that I could even come close to doing this on my own, which, reach out to Terry and we worked something out. But in coming up with the idea of a co-host, I hate to admit it to him, but like I kind of forgot about Dion because he stays kind of behind the shadows. Like he posts about his clients, he posts about the kids that he trains, he posts about his team, but he doesn't really like. And like I've known Dion, who Dion is from way back because he was a TSU legend where I played, and he came before me. And like he was just an absolute icon at that school. Like because he went on to the Buffalo Bills, and it was just I could tell that like. There was a part of him that wants a reason to step out in the spotlight without him doing it himself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's someone that I think we can grow together with because I want everybody to be on the same page. So once we teamed up, we still have a lot to learn. But I think we're figuring it out. And very quickly there was like, okay, we've got something. I added my best friend from the time we've known each other since we were 5 years old. He's still my best friend today. We added him as another co-host on it to have like different perspectives, and just from the jump, I mean, it's just clicked. We've had some really good. I know y'all are probably few weeks out from dropping this. Hopefully when we get done recording, the episode with Manit Shohan will drop. So I'm really excited about that. We're getting some really big names on there.
Nice.
And really getting to make people feel comfortable to tell a different perspective of their story that no one's heard. And that's been really cool.
I love that.
So, like, to kind of shift it a little bit, where do you, because with Nashville changing, bring it back to that, where do you hope that the landscape goes to? Because, like, if we look at, like, the other big cities, like New York, Atlanta, like L.A., like, they have a pretty established, like, training, like, fitness scene, and Nashville's still kind of figuring it out.
Where do I want it, or where do I see it going? I would like there to be more options instead of just new and shiny.
Yes.
I would like there to be more education. Everything I do, I essentially turn it into a way of doing sales. But the way I learned sales was that from what our industry that we were in, it was like you want to educate the customer or the consumer, and then allow that consumer to make an educated decision. And I think there's too much like competition. I think there's too much like I'm trying to prove something, and like not allowing an opportunity for people's first thing with fitness to be like fully educated on the matter. There's so many people moving here, and like a gym is one of the first things on people's list of where they're finding, you know, and it's always communities. People, when they move here, they want to find a church, they want to find you know, a local bar, a restaurant that they can like be reliable at, in a gym's high up on the list of finding like their tribe or their community. And if that gets like messed up, man, you could like really ruin someone's whole relationship with fitness.
Wow.
But I think we're going to hopefully move in a direction of a little bit more healthcare, like holistic health is, I think, the journey. If you look at what is actually happening in LA and New York, I think that a lot of that is merging fitness with healthcare. Mm-hmm. It's always been an issue. Like I said, I'm in my late 30s now, and when I was getting on my own plan or when my mom got a new job and I was still under her insurance, my insurance almost tripled because back then, and I know this ages me, but it was height weight chart. And as a D1 collegiate athlete, I was registered as obese class 2. And because of my height and weight, but it was all, you know, not all muscle, but I had a lot of muscle and for my height, and you know, we had to pay extra for that. And so I think with what you look like HCA and how big healthcare is here in Nashville, I think you'll start to see a merge of that, because there's been so much like conflicting perspectives of if you go to your doctor versus if you talk to your trainer. They don't always agree. And I think the next step of where we are going is like a fully merged version of fitness with healthcare, which ultimately is educating people a little bit more. So I'm not mad about it.
So with that, going back to earlier, we were talking about like certifications and whatnot. How would we get that? Like, how do you think we'd get that blend to be better? Because I mean, like the classic scenario that we run into with doctor trainer thing is. Sure, let's just say doctor's wrong. Yeah. Sometimes are. A lot of time. Just kidding. But like they're wrong on a topic, and then the client comes talk to you and they're like, yeah, my doctor said I can't eat protein, it's bad for my kidneys. I'm like, oh God, like this dude took nutrition once, and it was an old study. Like, how do you see us like blending and getting it, not to where we're on the same level as doctors, because they're a different thing, but to where we're like, okay, they're like an NP or they're like a physical therapist, like the respect is there.
I think it comes down to accessibility, because growing up in the time frame where height weight charts were being used and doctors like that were all like old men. I mean, it's what it is, old white men. They didn't have accessibility to lifting, to sports and things like that as we did now. And so I think the next generation of doctors, once this really waves out, are going to be people that were exposed to more sports. They were exposed to lifting maybe. And even though I guess like fundamentally the body and the science hasn't changed, but again, it comes down to like how you treat people and what's an actual realistic approach. I think, we don't have to go all the way here, but I think Big Pharma messes it up a lot by with what they do and how they pay doctors and things like that. Of now your doctor might be spot on with the assessment of what you need with your body and your composition and things like that, but the results that make him money versus something that's actually going to fix your problem without another medication, I think it gets too blurry. So finding doctors that look at other ways other than medication and just prescribing something as the answer. I know that there's definitely medications that are there for a good thing, but there's other ways of I think handling people's health needs, and merging it with fitness is, I think, a good way to start. But I think it's just going to have to take time for people who have had exposures to different things that we have now because of just technology.
That makes sense. That's a good point about time with it.
Yeah,
because they're just a different. Because just like you said, they can see it more, so it's almost a culture shift.
Yeah, I think we got to wait for that culture to shift. I think that's a good way of putting it for sure.
Yeah. I'm really shocked, though, that you had mentioned that there was a lack of the healthcare industry partnering up with the fitness industry.
Oh, it's hard. Like, it's very rare that they want to do it. Like as an example, this happens all the time. I'll get somebody that is post-op or did PT for something, and you'll contact the physical therapist and or the doc. Like, you get clearance from the patient and client, and they're like, hey, you can talk to the student. You talk to him, and you just get talked down to the entire time. And you're just like, okay, this was a colossal waste of time. And now there's this weird power struggle between you and the PT, and you're just like, dude, I'm just trying to do what's good for Sally over here because she wants to go back to running. Like,
it happens all the time. I mean,
wow.
Do y'all have pets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got an English bulldog. No matter what we do, I mean, he's going to be fat. Like, it's just what it is. He's a fat, rolly dog. But the way the doctor told him he was overweight, needed to lose weight, he talked in a little dog voice, and he was like, oh, you're a little overweight, maybe more walkies and less snacks. And it's like, I literally took that interaction. It's like, damn, I wish my doctor talked to me that way. When I went in and I might be a little heavy, like, oh, just a little less snacks and more walkies. Like, I think more people would be healthier than being like, oh, you need to get on this medication.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the reason I was shocked is because if you really think about it, the whole point of a lot of the fitness industry, or the majority of it, is to be healthy. So it's like, that's the whole point, and yet they're not coinciding and coexisting together is very interesting to me. Do you you said that you run into a lot of problems, though, or a lot of...
It's like roadblocks.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Because, I mean, the doc sees them for 25 minutes once a year, maybe. So, like, at the end of the day, if you're not able to make your case with the person in front of you, you need to figure out what you're saying and figure out how to say it better. Because the system change is going to take decades. That's decades if it ever does change. So I think us as trainers in the fitness industry, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard to be more professional and match that, because they're not going to come down to us. We have to go up to them. So it's
and
like
advocate.
Yeah. Well, it does come down to money. Like, I mean, insurance companies, which are some of the highest grossing companies in our country, aren't making money if we're all healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of it is.
That's very true.
It'd be like delayed.
Yeah.
So it's like, it'd be sick if they covered us.
Right.
Which there's like some companies shifting towards that, and then if they could get behind the long-term gain of it, they would probably make more money, because your employees are going to live longer, they're going to be healthier, less stressed, they're going to be more productive. Mm-hmm. Boom. But we're selling fitness, which is, if you're truly selling fitness, not garbage or like the fit influencer stuff where there's nothing to it. That's the least sexy sell ever.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I could just get my
30-day fast. I think a lot of it comes down to power and pride too. I mean, we can't act like it doesn't. I mean, we're comparing the opinions of like doctors or the wallets of CEOs and thinking about what they make. And unless you're like a, celebrity trainer that everyone uses, I mean, the trainer here in this situation is making the least out of anybody. Yeah. So then, like, in the real world, like, the respect of, like, oh, you're going to listen to that dude that's making, that. And, the people that have the major degrees and the medical schools and the millions of dollars, they're good luck proving them that they're wrong.
Yeah. Wow, I never honestly thought that. Honestly, this has been so groundbreaking, and I am so happy for people at home or wherever you're listening to this to hear that there needs to be a lot more of a conversation between these two industries. And sometimes you're right, roadblocks do come up with that as well. So,
yeah, but it's getting better than it was. So.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, it's definitely getting better for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you one thing before we wrap up.
Okay.
You have done so many things in your life. Obviously, D1 collegiate athlete. You're a business owner, and I want to ask this because we talked about this, but we didn't really get into it. The business owner aspect. Many people, like you mentioned, are moving to Nashville to start their own companies. A lot of it is extremely fitness charged. What's something that you would give them as a piece of advice, or something you learned that is extremely important to think about going into it?
Well, this is kind of two-part, whether it's for a business owner or a consumer somewhere looking for their tribe, looking for their gym. I would say be prepared for the turnover. Nashville is a city. It's like a either a launching pad or a springboard into whatever's next for people. People come from maybe a small town, and then they come here, and then get a bigger something from there. Like it happens all the time. Whether it's a new job, new school, whatever it is. And so in fitness, that's membership based. You have a lot of like just turnover. Because you got people that are moving here for the summer, or then they're transferring, or then they got a promotion, or whatever it is, and people are all like constantly moving in and out. They talk about how many people move in to the city a day, but there are people that are leaving because they made a name for themselves. They got bigger, better opportunities, or the people that kind of got chewed up and spit out, like we talked about earlier. So I think there's a big turnover that you have to be prepared for. Retention is key in a city that is constantly moving and shaking. But sometimes that doesn't always bid well with franchises. It turns into a little bit more of a Ponzi scheme as far as like these companies are making money off of, and it's not just fitness, but companies make money from people who are coming here, opening up a location with the franchise fees and the startup fees and things like that. But if it doesn't work, like those companies make money just from people opening up, not from those businesses staying afloat.
Right.
Much like insurances don't make money if we're healthy, right? So there's been kind of a trend that I've been noticing, even small businesses that are like franchises, that people in Nashville, or people look at Nashville because there's not one. I think that they are finding companies that are just pushing to open a business and not caring if it stays open or not. But as far as gym owners in that space, like being prepared for the turnover is something I would say be on the lookout for.
Yeah. Wow. And don't be discouraged when the
Yes.
turnover does happen.
Yeah, it was hard at first. It's like, man, we just lost this, things like that. But it's like, you could have the best place. Like I've talked to other gym owners, like other people experience it and deal with it. It's just a matter of, replacing.
Yeah. Always be recruiting.
I like it.
All
Yep.
right.
Well, Blake, where can we find you?
Well, if you want the podcast, it's at Music City Mindset. If you want the gym, it's at Music City Muscle Gym. If you're just looking for me, I'm Music City Strongman.
Your home address, your social security,
Oh,
your
yeah.
credit card information.
We'll take that before you leave.
Yeah, for
just-
sure. For sure. It's not what you think it is. We can do a swap-a-roo.
Oh, you don't want mine.
Well, guys, thanks for listening. We're on all the platforms here: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. So thanks for joining us on the NFM Podcast.